and I am a member of the Pushing Lovely Facebook group and blog. We are here tonight having our Hangout, which is part 2 of our Hangout on business planning. And we're going to be talking tonight about personnel and organization for your business. Last week, we talked about the introductory sections of your business plan. We talked about the purpose statement, which tells why you're in business, what you're there to do. The executive summary, which gives a history of the entrepreneur who runs the business and what their qualifications are to run the business. And the third thing from last week was business information that included things like your business hours, your business location, what it is you're actually going to do, to sell, to produce, to provide for the world. This week we're talking about personnel and organization. And this is an important section of the business plan. But to finish with last week, we have in our Pushing Lovely group, we have the links so that you can read the blog post on it and so that you can do the sample business plan that is in the file section. Now tonight is all about personnel and organization. Now a lot of times people will say, well, I'm a one person, I'm a sole practitioner, I'm an entrepreneur, it's just me. Why do I need to care about personnel? And you need to care about personnel because you are a business. Because when you're talking about your business to other people, whether it be to other people in your industry, to people you're seeking financing from, to people you're going to partner with, or people who want to hire you, they want to know what the employee situation is. People want to make sure that you have sufficient personnel, part of your team, to get done everything that needs to get done. If you're a sole practitioner, not a problem. You're doing everything yourself. I've been there, done that. I'm doing it again, so I understand that. But you need to make sure that every job that needs to be done within your organization, you can do. So that if you do not currently have the skills and talents necessary to do those jobs, you need to go about getting them. So when you think about your personnel for the organization, you need to think about every job that is needed. So let's take, for example, a blogger. For a blogger, you need to have someone who's going to write your content. You need to have someone who's going to edit your content. You need someone who's going to do the photography. You need someone who's going to do the publishing, someone who's going to do the subscriptions, someone who's going to handle the someone who's going to handle getting your word out to everyone else, the syndication, someone who's going to do the social media work. All of those at a large organizations are different jobs, each handled by a different person. When you're the only person who's going to be doing everything, you need to, number one, recognize that all of those jobs are needed. Number two, you need to show that you have those qualifications, that you can do those jobs. So one of the first things you need to do when you're preparing your personnel section of your business plan is prepare a resume. So on your resume, of course, you list out all of your jobs, your experience, your history, everything that shows you have the talent, skill, and intellect to do what needs to be done. Now, once you have your resume, you put that on one side of the table. On the other side, sit down and think about all of those jobs, everything that needs to be done on your blog. Make sure that you have those qualifications. If you have them, make sure that it's identified in your resume so that when someone looks at your resume and you say that you're a content creator, does your resume say you create content? If you're trying to do something with your blog where you're doing videos, does your resume say that you're doing videos? Even if you're only doing them for yourself, every skill, every job that's needed for your blog, for your business, you need to have listed in your resume. For example, I work as a consultant. I help small businesses to develop the strategic plans they need in order to grow. So in my resume, I have to show that I have the skills and ability to do that. So my resume had to show where I went to school. It had to show that I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration with a specialty in organizational behavior. It showed that I have a law degree and that I help my clients and businesses and what I help them to do, goals I help them to reach. Now that I'm working as a freelance writer and working in blogging, working in writing, I have to emphasize more of my writing. So, for example, and anything that you have, you tailor to the new goal, the new job, your new business. So when I take my law experience and I'm trying to translate it to blogging, for example, I talk about writing. Well, as an attorney, I wrote briefs all day, every day, twice on Sunday. So I emphasize that in my legal portion. I talk about how I wrote briefs on a variety of subjects ranging from traffic tickets to family law to corporate organization to murder defense, because that shows that I'm able to write about a wide variety of subjects. Since my blog is a blog for working women talking about all aspects of their life, it's important for me to show that I'm a well-rounded person. So that needs to be in my resume. If you are a social media person, you want to make sure that your resume shows that you have experience with social media. Even if you're just starting out and the only person you've ever done social media for is your own business, you need to list that in your resume, what you've done social media work as. Whether you've set up a Facebook account, you've set up Twitter account, you've done Pinterest accounts, what those things are that you've done them. Keep in mind with your resume, you want to be honest. You don't want to lie about your resume because it's hard to remember a lie. It's much easier to remember the truth. The truth is easy for a lazy person because it's just what happened. You don't have to get creative. So on your resume, be honest. If you've only done it for yourself, don't say that you've done it for 10 people. Say that you've done it in your own business and now you have the expertise to do it for other people. When you're looking at all of the things that you need to be able to do on your resume that your business needs, if you don't have those skills, then you need to go out and get those skills. So maybe you need to go and read some books, read some magazines, read some blog articles, interview some people. Do the work that's needed so that your personnel section adequately reflects the personnel that's needed in your organization and shows that you have the skills to do that if you're the only person who's going to be doing the work. Sometimes with bloggers or any type of small business person, you need to know that you have someone who can fill in for emergencies. So those are things that you can think about. As when I had my law practice, I had friends I could call on if there was a snowstorm and I could not get into the city to do work. Or if I was sick, I had someone who could replace me. It's similar with doctors. Anyone who has a doctor, if your doctor's on vacation or your doctor is out sick herself, there's going to be someone else you can call to fill in. That's what you need to look at having for your business, your personnel department, because you don't want everything to stop and fall apart just because you have an emergency. An emergency is easy to happen. Last year, I was in a car accident. My daughters and I were pedestrians. We got hit by a hit-and-run driver. I was out of my office for a week and a half taking care of my daughter. I made arrangements not for guest posts, but I had posts scheduled at that time, 2.5 months in advance, so I could just automatically post. But it made me think about the fact, if I'm out sick, if something happens, what am I going to do? How's my business going to continue to run? Those are all personnel decisions, no matter what your business is, blogger, consultant, social media manager, doctor, lawyer, baker. Whatever your business is, you need to make arrangements for someone to be able to step in and fill in if you're sick, if you're hurt, if you're tired, if you want to go on vacation. The man at the corner store from my house just went on vacation to Chicago over the winter break for his kids. He had someone come and fill in for his store for that break. He has those plans in place so that he can take a vacation. Even though he normally works 7 days a week, all year long, he has someone in place so that he can go on vacation and work can continue. That's what your personnel section thinks about. What's going to happen if you take a vacation? If something happens to you, how will things continue to operate? Keep in mind that your business personnel, your needs and requirements may change as you grow. You may start off now as a small entrepreneur, but as things get better and your business grows, you're going to need to hire personnel. So that's when you have to think about now before you need them. Think about, okay, as my business grows, I'm going to want what? Well, with a blog, you may want more writers. You may want more people to help you with content so that instead of posting 3 times a week, you can go to 7 days a week. Instead of posting once a day, you can post 2 or 3 times per day. And also you want to think about, as your business grows, maybe you need a full-time person handling syndication for you, handling social media for you, responding to comments. Those are things that are common with bloggers that you may think about, that you may not need that now, but as you grow, as your influence grows, you're going to need to have people who can come in and fill in for you. And it's incredible the different types of personnel that you need and you may not think about. This is something funny from my own blogging career. I was talking with my son, and he came up with 2 or 3 really great ideas to improve my blog. One of them was a rewards program, so that people who read so many posts or people who comment on so many posts, they get a prize. That's what happens with his games, his video games. They get prizes. Well, with me, I'm going to give readers printables. I'm going to give them ebooks. I'm going to give them little rewards like that to thank them for being loyal customers. Another thing he came up with was a suggestion box so that readers can tell me things that they want to hear from me, special topics, special subtopics that they want to read about on my blog. Now, my son is 10 years old. He'll be 11 on January 2nd. But these are things that he came up with, so I hired him to be part of my research and development team. To be honest, right now, he's the whole research and development team. But he works for 10% of whatever I earn, so he's affordable. And that's something to think about with your own organization. What people can help you along the way, and can you hire them now or do you hire them later, and are they affordable? And so you think about that, because as you grow and develop, I know that I'm going to need in the future a bigger research and development team than my 11-year-old, even though he came up with some really great ideas so far. But when you think about who you're going to hire, think about the qualifications that they need. Are your employees going to need a certain amount of education? Are they going to need certain licensing? Are they going to need certain criminal background checks? I had worked previously a job I enjoyed as a trainer at a cognitive learning center. We helped children to learn better. We taught them how to learn. We had to have criminal background checks. So you have to think about that, whatever your business is. Now, when you're blogging, you probably don't need a criminal background check on people. But if you have certain workshops that you're doing out in the public, if you're doing workshops for adults, maybe you don't need criminal background checks. If you're doing them around children, you might want to make sure that the people you hire have clean child abuse background so that they're not a danger to children. So think about the requirements you have for your business. As an attorney, I wanted secretaries who could read and write the English language. I wanted people who had a pleasant telephone voice. I wanted people with a good customer service mentality. I know Tazim, for example, is doing a lot of social media work for other people. She's going to need someone who has computer skills. She may not want to teach them from scratch because she's a growing business. She may or may not have time to teach someone, this is a computer, this is the internet, this is a search engine, this is Twitter, this is Facebook, this is Pinterest. She may not have time to do all of that, so she may require people who come on with her to have all of that experience already so that she can train them in how she does things and keep moving forward. Another part of the personnel process that you need to think about, even if it's just for yourself, is payroll. When you're doing a blog as a business, you're hoping to earn income. When you're earning income, you want to be able to pay yourself. What is the salary that you want? Is that realistic with what you earn? I personally think I'm worth $2.5 million as a blogger. Not everyone agrees with me right now. I'm sure they will one day, but today they don't. So my income is a little lower than that right now. But think about your personnel needs for yourself, for your employees that you're going to hire now and employees that you're going to want to hire in the future. What are they going to expect to be paid? You need to know what a reasonable salary is for yourself and for people you will bring into your organization so that you can set your pricing appropriately. If people who come to work for you are going to want $15 per hour, you need to earn a certain amount of money so that you can afford to pay that. So that tells you how you need to set your prices. It tells you how much money you need to have saved so that when your employees come in, you can pay them and have money to pay them during slow periods. In my law practice and in my consulting practice, I've had employees and I had to pay them every Friday. They did not care if I didn't make any money that week. They did not care if all my other clients did not pay me. They still wanted payroll every Friday. I was able to pay them every Friday because I knew before I hired them how much money they expected to earn, and so I was able to set aside several weeks of pay so that if I didn't get paychecks, I could still pay my employees. And those are things that you want to keep in mind, again, because if you're partnering with another organization, you want to be able to let them know what your personnel needs are, what personnel you bring to the table for the project. If you're doing a project with a client who wants a huge social media outreach that will realistically require 20 people and you have 3 people, then you're going to need to partner with someone to fulfill those needs. You need to think about personnel, what temporary services that you can hire to help you short-term and quickly to meet personnel requirements on a quick, temporary basis. And those are all things you need to think about in the beginning now while you're small. If you're an ongoing concern and you never thought about it before, think about it. What are my personnel needs going to be today, 6 months from now, a year from now? There's a saying that you prepare for war in the time of peace. Another one is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You plan these things in the beginning when things are calm and relaxed before the emergency comes up so that you know how to handle it. That's the whole point behind doing the business plan. You prepare for as much as possible. You plan out as much as possible in advance so that you can open up your business plan, you flip through the pages. If it's written out, you scroll through the screen if it's electronic, and you figure out how you're going to handle each of these situations that arises so that you can do it in a calm manner when something comes up. Okay. Keep in mind when you talk about personnel, hiring people, you're going to need to keep in mind taxes, because I don't know anything about the taxes in Canada for Tazeen, but in the United States, the IRS can put you in jail. None of your other bill collectors can put you in jail, but the IRS can. So you want to make sure that you always have money to pay your taxes. So when you think about what it costs me to hire an employee, you need to think about the tax consequences. Even if they are independent contractors and will be paying their own taxes, that's still income and expenses that you need to report to the IRS. So it's very important for you to keep track of your finances and to be a good record keeper. Finances are 2 sessions from now, so we'll get to that then, but it's something you always want to keep in mind no matter what you're doing. Okay. Now that's it for personnel for right now. Before I go on to organization, I'm going to pause for questions. Does anyone have any questions about personnel and employee matters before we move forward? Okay. Since there are no questions about that, we're going to move forward now and talk about organization. In the organization section of your business plan, you're going to talk about how each section of the company works and how they're related to one another. For example, thinking about blogging. There's the part of blogging where you write the post. There's the part of blogging where you publish the post. There's the part of blogging where you syndicate your content. And that's when you're doing stuff, you're sending it to Facebook, you're sending it to Twitter, you're sending it to Blog Her, to Project Eve, Evan Carmichael, Bloggy Moms, Pinterest, Instagram, all of those types of things that you're doing to get your content out into the world. Google Plus is another popular one we can't ignore. But Organization is where you're talking about how each of these things is related to one another. With blogging, it's very easy. When you write a post, you publish the post. Those things are naturally related because your blog is not going to survive if you don't publish what you write. Syndication is very closely related to that because in order to get the world to notice who you are and what you're all about, you need to get a way to have them see what you're talking about and what you're doing. That's all part of syndication. So it's very easy to see how all three of those pieces are related together. Now, the idea behind all of those three pieces is similar to every other business. There's production. No matter what your business is, you have to produce something. Whether you make widgets, whether you knit sweaters, whether you create social media campaigns for other businesses, you produce something. That's similar to writing the blog article. Then there's the part where you get it, you just give it to the customer. In the blog, that's when you publish it. You have it live on the blog so people can see it. If you're doing social media work for someone else, a similar thing to that would be when you show it to your client. You let your client know what you have done. And then you're also going to have to do something to let the whole world and other people know about what you have done. That's going to help with every business. You need to produce something. You need to make sure your client knows that you produced it, and you want to let the world know that you're a person that can be sought out and come to have this service or product produced. And so you think about your organization, you think about all the pieces that are involved. In a law practice, for example, there's the lawyer who's doing the legal work, who's going to court, who's in court making the appearances. But you also have a secretary or paralegal who's going to be typing the work for you, answering phones, talking to clients, doing research. There's also, you want to let people know what you do. You go out in the world and make a reputation for yourself. When you think about your organization, think about not just today, but the future. Think about, okay, as my organization grows, I'm going to have these three departments. What department is the top of the food chain? Where is the top of the head who's going to be running everything, who's going to be in charge, who everyone else reports to? You need to know that even if it's just you who's doing every job in the company, you need to know how the organization works and what department reports to what department, how they interact with each other, and what the flow of operations is. For example, you can't syndicate posts before you write them. You can't publish posts after they're syndicated. You can't edit a post before you write it. There's a natural order of things for every business. You have to figure out for your business, whether it's your blog, your law firm, your widget company, your hat knitting company, whatever it is, you have to figure out what the organization is, what your organizational chart is, who reports to who, when, and what is the natural flow of business. And keep in mind that one of the reasons you do a business plan is to guide everyday operations. If you have all of these things figured out, if something happens to you tomorrow, I should be able to walk into your office, pick up your business plan, and I can see what you do. Okay, so on Monday she writes about taking action now. Tuesday she writes about technology. Wednesday she tells people how to get a job. Thursday she tells people how to make their own businesses better. So whatever your business is, your business plan should be something that someone can walk in off the street, pick up, and run your business just like if you were there yourself. That's why you want to make sure that you have the organizational chart in place so that someone who comes in knows the order in which you will do things, knows why they're done in that manner. And that's important to do. Now that's going to be it for the organizational portion of the business plan. So what we would like to do is have everyone go and work on these things between now and our next session. I'll have the date listed in our group by tomorrow. So right now, before we go, does anyone have any questions about any of this so far?
No, I don't have any questions, but you're going to post a link to all of this in the group, correct?
Yes. Right now in the group, if you can see the chat section here, there's a link for the sample business plan and the blog post that explain each of the sections of the business plan.
I don't
So if
have
you,
that in my chat.
okay, not a problem. I'm going to, it's in the group now. If you go to Pushing Lovely, you go
Okay.
to the file section.
Uh-huh.
There's going to be a file called, I'm going to get the exact name of it for you. Well, just make it easy for you. I don't like when I go to find something, I can't find it because I don't remember the name you gave it. So I'm just pulling it up now. What I'm going to do now also is stop the broadcast.
Okay.